For us, the mortgage is not about the paper, we say, it's about the people. So a lot of folks aren't ready to buy a house or don't want to buy a house, but they still need a safe, sanitary, and affordable place to live. So being able to develop rental properties and own rental properties that are safe, sanitary, and affordable to them is one of our goals.
I'm Stuart Yasgur, and this is Economic Architecture, the podcast.
These are unincorporated areas outside the cities in the valley that historically have not had water or sewer or electricity. And over the years, we've worked to improve these communities and then building new houses.
I think one of the things really important to know about Nick is where Nick is. Nick is working in a part of Texas that is right along the border, which includes places that are called the Colonias.
We're not New York. We're not San Francisco. Do you want to invest in lives and change lives in places like this? And we're all working around sustainable concepts, even though those are words we're not supposed to be talking about these days. It's built into our system.
People are living in unincorporated areas, tension about positive, negative, and why they might live there. The question asked itself is part of the lack of investment, but also the people are there striving to better their economic situations. We focus on structural innovations. Sometimes we see a structural innovation and we say, like, okay, how can we help this advance? Sometimes we see an opportunity for a structural innovation that does not yet exist. When that happens, one of the things we do is also test structural innovations. And here you have somebody who's really discerning. He's going to identify problems, innovations that can address them, and then act.
So the work that CDCB, Come Dream, Come Build does is we were started 51 years ago, actually, by a man by the name of Father Armand Matthew. And our original goal, we were part of the new culture of community development corporations that was starting back in the 70s. And our first mission was to replace the 1800 outhouses that were in the city of Brownsville. We had a sewer system, but 1,800 families were not connected to it in 1974. And so our goal was to go find them and hook them up. Father Matthew always said that when he first got here and he was going through the area and talking to folks about whatever priests and pastors talk to people about when they knock on their door, he quickly realized that people were more in need of a safe, sanitary place to live than they were his mass schedule. And that's a direct quote from him. And from that, we were born. And so from that, we've been primarily using the development and construction of affordable housing to meet a plethora of goals, which is really in the end is to build wealth in a community that has historically been underserved and in great need of that. We're a persistent poverty location. So the U.S.-Mexico border, almost 100% of the counties along the U.S.-Mexico border are considered persistent poverty communities. That means that over 20% of the population has lived below the federal poverty line for at least 30 years. So we are in deep South Texas, so down on the U.S.-Mexico border. We're actually headquartered in the city of Brownsville, Texas, which sits right on the U.S.-Mexico border. And we're about 20 miles or so from the Gulf of Mexico and in what is referred to as the Rio Grande Valley. If you're watching the news at night and they're doing the weather, we're the part at the bottom that's cut off. So we're 1/3 of the country of Mexico is north of us. We're way down south. And here it's been that way forever. And we've got our work cut out for us. We typically like to say we use the house to build wealth. We do that through design and development and construction, as well as what we refer to as moral and just lending products, and then education for us to do what we do to build wealth for families.
So what does that look like for an individual family who's working with your kind of?
Yeah, so it depends on what they're here for. So typically folks come in our front door, of which we have, 800, 900 folks a year walk through the front door, and they primarily want to buy a house. We are a 93-95% Latino community. Homeownership is extremely important to our population and to the folks we serve. Owning a piece of dirt, the American dream is alive and well in this community. And so we work with families to get them home buyer ready. That typically takes somewhere between 6 to 12 months to get them ready to buy a house, understanding the rights and responsibilities of owning a home, the financial contributions they have to make, the sacrifices they might have to make to get to that point. So we have housing counselors and coaches that work with folks to get to that point. And then we can offer them, if they choose to stay with us, to a mortgage loan. We're a Texas licensed mortgage company. We actually have more lending products than most mortgage companies in the state of Texas. And so we have a whole thing that they can choose from. And then if they want to buy a house that's on the market, or if they want to build a house, we have contractors that work with us. We also own and operate our own volumetric modular housing factory, where they can buy a volumetric modular house through our Dream Build product. And then we also develop raw land for subdivisions. Plus, we also do scattered site. We'll tear down old houses. A lot of what we work out is in the rural and colonial areas. So these are unincorporated areas outside the cities in the valley that historically have not had water or sewer or electricity. And over the years, we've worked to improve these communities and then tear down the old shacks or the old trailers that they're living in and building new houses. So we try to be all things to all people when it comes to home ownership, but really that whole continuum of walking through the door. And then we service their mortgage on the back end so that we stay with them. For us, the mortgage is not about the paper, we say, it's about the people. And so being able to be with them through the entire life of that. We also do rental housing development. So a lot of folks aren't ready to buy a house or don't want to buy a house, but they still need a safe, sanitary, and affordable place to live. So being able to develop rental properties and own rental properties that are safe, sanitary, and affordable to them is also one of our goals.
The scope of what you do is just enormous. It's across the board, and it gives you the opportunity to stay with people through so many different parts of their journey.
Yeah. After the financial crisis in 2008 and 9, we weren't doing rental housing at that point. And so we started really digging deep into people's individual balance sheets through our counseling program. And we realized that 100% of the clients that walked in our front door to buy a house had a payday loan or a high cost personal loan. We joined a coalition of folks who were trying to literally kind of legislate these things out of business in Texas. And that wasn't going to work for multiple political reasons. And then coalitions that were together trying to do municipal regulations that would outlaw them in individual cities. And that didn't work either. So in true CDCB fashion, I was like, screw it. We started the Community Loan Center in 2011, which is an online small dollar loan alternative to payday lending. Today, we've franchised that product across the country into 19 different markets currently. We've done over 160,000 loans, equaling about $158 million at $900 a pop, which has actually saved individuals about $160 million in fees and interest as compared to a payday loan in Texas.
That's incredible. First of all, that 100% of the people who were walking in the door had one of these. And for people who are familiar with payday loans, they are such a bad deal for people to take them out. It can create that kind of cycle of it just keeps people indebted. And your product differs because it's low fee, low interest.
Yeah. So the average interest, the interest rate, so we don't have an interest rate in the state of Texas on these loans. It's a fee. The average is $24 per $100 that you borrow. So when you calculate that into an interest rate, it is about 625%. And so ours is like the credit card in your wallet, it's about 18% with a $20 fee. And right there, we're 600 points better than what they're getting on the street. Within 3 blocks of my office here, there are 22 high-cost personal loan companies operating.
That is amazing.
Storefronts.
And how's the uptake been? We kind of worked with an innovator actually based in London who helped try to do this in London and found that some of the payday lenders
I've met that guy. He came to one of my talks on this. Yes.
So it's Faisal Rahman who created Fair Finance.
I met him. Yeah.
He's fantastic. One of the things when they were starting is they found that some of the payday lenders had real customer loyalty. So even though the economics were much better from going from a place that was ethically centered, it took them a while to understand how to design a product that really served those clients. Are you experiencing something similar?
Yes, we took that into consideration when we designed it up front. A lot of these groups, I took this to the Forge Foundation and they said, it'll never work. You can't do it because of X, Y, and Z. And that's the last thing you want to say to me because we're going to make it work. Most groups that do this like us, they become very paternalistic, I like to say. And they're going to make this borrower do some sort of counseling program and some sort of budgeting program. And I'm like, no. I just need bad money off the street and good money on the street. We've made it very simple to where we realized our clients are poor, but they're not stupid. And if you put this in front of them and say, that's this, and this is this, and ours is payroll deducted if chosen by the client. And so we've made it extremely easy. I don't care what you're using the money for. I really don't. It's not up to me how you're using this $1,000 that you're borrowing from. And we only have a 3% default rate. Whereas because people are very loyal, they're like, I need this. Until we get a minimum wage in this country that's livable, people are going to need it. And so being able to offer it has worked out well. We're growing every single year. We grow from anywhere from 15 to 25%, depending on how many franchises we add during the year. So the uptake has been phenomenal and people are loyal to us at this point, but they know they need it. And if it's not there, then they're going to go back to their old person. So let's keep this going.
That's remarkable. I want to bring us back to housing for a second.
Sure.
All across the country, people are experiencing real problems with housing, being able to purchase a house, being able to afford a house once you stay in it. You're doing this in arguably one of the toughest places to do it. In many of the places, lack of infrastructure, there's all kinds of political things happening in the background. The issue of working in a geography where there's persistent poverty. How have you been successful where so many other places are wrestling with these issues?
I think our success, one, I've got 100 people that work here that are phenomenal. So I just want to put that out there. These people wake up every day with one mission in mind, and it's get a house on the ground for somebody who needs it. We've been very serious, especially in the last 15 years, about asking people what they want. And people want to own a house. So that's a given. I want to buy a house. I want a safe place to rent. You know, it rains here. It's awful. It floods. We're in a river delta. Despite being called the Rio Grande Valley, there's no mountains around here. So learning to build houses higher up, better insulated, better whatever, that's just normal for us. It's not a political issue to us. It's reality. And so all of these groups, including ourselves, what the political conversation is, sometimes doesn't even matter to us. It's just like, we just need to house people and house them in better places. And whether I save the universe or save the world with better, greener products, I do know that with a better air conditioning unit, with a better insulation, with solar power, that I just saved the Remedios family $100 a month. And when you're only making $25,000 a year, that $100 a month is huge.
Enormous.
So that the house that you live should bring you ease and comfort and not be difficult for you. One of the things that we do is we have most of our clients design the house that they want. One of our taglines is choice empowers. So giving people the opportunity to design their own home. Now, this is 1,000 square feet, right? 950 square feet, 1,400 square feet. This is not the Taj Mahal, right? We're not talking about gold toilets and crazy stuff, right? But it's as simple as I want the kitchen here because you eat outside a lot of times during the year. Or I want all my bedrooms on this side because the sun comes up and I work at night and I want to be able to sleep. And those small little things, once you start with that, you're actually giving them that. And most of the population we're talking about aren't given choices in their lives. You and I, the power that you and I have, or we perceive that we have, came because we were given choices as young people and young adults and as older adults. The more and more choices you're given, the more power you have over your own life to control it. Most of our clients have not been given that. You're going to make this, you're going to work here, you are going to do this, and it has nothing to do with whether you want it or not. In the affordable housing world, it's been the same way. This is what you got, this is what you can afford, and I'm only going to build this. And we figured out a way to actually, we can do that. We can rapid intake and rapid approval and rapid building process, but we don't believe that limited choice really drives cost. And we've just thought a little bit more about how to do that. So that has made us extremely popular with folks, that they can actually come to us. Even in our modular housing company, we have an online program called dreambuild.org, and you get on there and you've got 29 different choices to make that go into your house. And it doesn't matter what they're building in the factory. It's to them, they're making Fords. To the client, they've just designed their Ferrari. When you give that level of choice to people, they really appreciate that. And that goes all the way down to just like their housing counseling process. They're meeting with counseling, and then they may have 15 things they need to work on, the whole list. And our counselors do not give them all 15. They say, pick 3 of these we're going to work on this month. And if they get to pick them and then they get to do them, right, that we recognize that choice is important. And we're going to get through all 15. But as you give folks the choice to do that, they become empowered to do that more. Their loan products. We've got probably 12 different loan products. We've got all the Freddie, all the Fannie, we've got FHA loan, we've got our own portfolio loan. We've got other things that we do with like self-help credit union, all that stuff. And we say, here it is. Here's cost. And then they're like, I don't have any money down. Oh, then this is the one that you need to do. Or I've got this much to put down. Oh, then this one will probably be good for you. Right now, the FHA loan is the cheapest loan, but we have some clients that are like, I only have $2,000 to put down. The Inspire 100, that's 100% LTV. So go there. So just giving them the choices, that it's not one size fits all or take it or leave it. We don't believe that. We don't say that. It is what it is because you can do this. And that has made us very successful. And people who feel like we're a partner in their wealth creation, 100% of our clients also may have a payday loan on their credit report, but 100% of them also tell us, I'm doing this for my kids. They may not say the words to us, intergenerational transfer of wealth, which is the buzzword now for wealth creation in low-income communities, but they understand it entirely. And being able to give them a product that they can be proud to either pass on to their kids or to have for their kids to sell later when they are passed is really, we try to build all of that into this so that people understand and are excited about what they're doing. Buying a house is the biggest thing you'll ever buy. Most people, even billionaires, it's the biggest thing you'll buy. And so being fully in control of that process is really relaxing. I bought my first house after I had built or mortgage financed 1,000 units. I actually went back and counted it. And my first house, and I was scared to death. And I went through our home buyer education class and I wrote the curriculum. And I still went through the class because I was nervous. You can imagine if you're making $9.35 an hour, then nervousness that you have doing this, that making people feel like they're part of a family and that they have choices.
Let's talk a little bit about your modular house program. Not everybody's familiar with what modular homes are. What does this mean? How does this work? Why would we do these things?
Yeah, we've been building houses in this country the same way for 500 years. For as long as people lived in this country, we've been building houses in the same way. And for a while it worked and it was fine. But we're getting to a point where materials, labor, financing, everything is getting so expensive that we've had to find a way to really figure out how do we wring out some of those excess costs that are in there. And as a nonprofit in trying to build stuff and mortgage finance things for low-income people where every penny really counts. And the fact that we were really being controlled by the finance companies and the material suppliers and the contractors and the subcontractors and the insurance companies, and everybody else had a hand in the pie and the homeowner didn't. And we were losing control. Because I'm a control freak, I decided that I've been reading about modular housing and there's something there. And we had designed a disaster recovery model house called Rapido. And Rapido had gotten some traction. We were at the Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian under their Design by the People show. And we did a talk at the UN Habitat 3 in Quito, Ecuador on it. But we all started thinking, boy, why are we waiting for a hurricane before we do this? We already got a demand-made disaster housing here. Why don't we try to implement it as an off-the-shelf product, which is a big thing to ask, but we did it. We created, at the time we called it Mi Casita, and I'll tell you how that name changed, but it is now referred to, and the company is called Dream Build. It's based on a 5-box model. So this house can actually grow over time. You can buy a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. So it was really created to meet people where they are. And then you can add boxes or units to these modules to the original box that you bought. Or you can do it all at once. Doesn't really matter. We don't care as long as you can afford it. And it's got a wet box and the dry box, and those go together as the O core or the L core. And that's 576 square feet. And then you can buy the bedroom suite, which is a big bedroom and a bathroom and a walk-in closet. And then you can buy the kid box, 2 small bedrooms, or the flex box, which is a wide open 288 square feet. It's all based on a 12 by 24 module. And then those can go together. Right now, we can put them together in 36 different fashions. Actually, there's only about 10 that are really popular, and 4 of those are really popular. We have this modular housing if it's manufactured. So meaning that you can build a modular house under a roof. And if you're just building a house under the roof, it's not going to be cheaper than if you're building it site-built stick built. And most modular people who build, they'll tell you that. So we had to create a manufacturing process to build the modular house.
So I think this is fascinating, but let me just take it maybe just slow it for folks who may be less familiar. So like stick built, this is where they send wood to the job, so you have a piece of property, they send the supplies to the property, we hire people on site, they assemble this. This is the traditional way of doing it. And right. Like often as an example, I say, this is not how we build cars, right? It's not like you send me an alternator and right. some spark plugs and I'm going to hire the local mechanic to assemble my car for me. Like we right. go, and all the benefits of doing the assembly in a factory could be there for homes as well.
Yes.
And this is the point you're just getting to. So they could be more economical. We could do them more volume. We could do them a higher quality.
Correct.
And it enables us to, in fact, maintain the degree of flexibility if we use this kind of factory model.
That's correct. That's exactly right. To test my idea, I put a stopwatch on a house, and it only turned on when somebody walked into the house when they were building it. A site-built, stick-built house. And again, 1,400, 1,200 square feet. And that, it took about 160 days for that house to get done. But there were people in it working only 45 days. But because we had to wait for this guy to show up and wait for that woman to show up and wait for this to show up. And then we didn't have the wrong materials. Then you had to go back to the material. Then he climbs down the ladder and has to walk out to his truck to get his tool. All this is wasted time, and it's all money. And so if you can take that process and put it into a factory, what we refer to as the farm, because it's where we grow homes. At the farm, you've got 10 guys working on a house all day long, 8 hours a day. They're not moving. They have their job. They do their job. And we can actually finish 4 boxes. Last month, we finished 2 full houses at the farm in 25 days. Wow. Then we put it on the back of a truck, take it out. It takes another 15 days to finish it all out. It's built to IRC, which is International Residential Building Code. It's not a manufactured home, although it is manufactured. And we've figured out how to wring out some costs. And as we get better and better at this, more and more costs are wringing out, and we're able to pass that savings on to the home buyer.
And then as you're describing it, homeowners are also going through a journey, right? Like you might start with your starter home. A couple might buy a home before they have kids. They may need a relatively small footprint. Family grows. They have the ability, like these kind of.
Our marketing and communication team tells me I'm supposed to refer to them as modules. So
boxes can go together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you think almost like Lego blocks, that they can come together in a way, and you can design, okay, I want a 1-bedroom home, a 3-bedroom home, whatever that case might be.
And we've been told by my communications teams I'm not supposed to refer to them as Legos because people don't want to live in a Lego house. So Nick, stop referring to them as Legos. But yes, you were correct. It's just like Legos. It's just like Lincoln Logs. It's exactly that.
Send them my apology. Okay. But it does, I think it helps people picture just how you can start to put these things together and the benefits of having the modular. You can design with these modules, you can design a range of different things that you can imagine.
Right. And we leave it up to the family to put them together the way they want to put them together, right? As well as what type of front door do you want? There's the 6-panel, there's the flat, there's the one with the window in it. So you're choosing that window, you're choosing the floor that's going down. And we have 6 choices of floor. They have not just the color of paint, but do you want brass or do you want nickel or do you want matte black? Because do you want windows that are aluminum color or do you want them matte black or do you want them white? A window's a window. It's the same window, right? And they weigh the same, everything. That level of choice that they have, they just went through this whole process and that then gets sent to the farm. That's their order and it's their house.
How many have you done so far?
So we won the Affordable Housing Breakthrough Challenge with Wells Fargo back in December of 2020. So 2021 was when we started the research and development piece of this. We're now at 30 units since then, doubling the number every year. So we did one prototype year 1. And then we did 5, and then we did 14, and then we did this last year, we did 20. And right now we're well onto our way in this year to hitting the number of 36. And each year the units are getting less expensive and we're getting better at what we're doing. And not only that, we now have a manufacturing site in a place that didn't have jobs and like really good jobs. Like they start out with good wages and they have health insurance and they have a bonus schedule. A lot of the guys that we got bringing in to work for us, they've been chasing contracts their whole life. They're like, oh, I get to come here to work every day and I get the weekends off and there's a Christmas holiday and I'm not having to work just to pay my rent for my family because they're working hard when they're with us. We've got 40 technicians, as we refer to them, working at the farm, including 5 administrative people who are doing buying and materials and scheduling and working the MRP ERP system and doing quality control. We're hiring another 20 right now. So we're always bringing people on. It's not just about the house, right? It's about good jobs. It's like changing the culture of what it means to be a house builder. We hope that it's more of an impact than just putting a better unit on the ground, but also an economic impact to the community that is very stable and not always there.
And I think taking you from kind of one of the places where you made real progress in terms of how do we build houses, how do we buy them, first getting homeowners ready to buy them, and then creating financial products to enable them to manage their finances and be in a position to buy them, changing the home. One of the other massive pain points we hear is home insurance.
Oh, God. Yeah. Insurance is, I hate to scare the world, but I think that there is a catastrophic event on our future when it comes to insurance of residential housing units, whether it be for homeowners or rental. Look back in 2008 and 9, we can all look at what happened with mortgage-backed securities and mortgages and the way that worked. They found one issue, and then that issue caused a catastrophic mess in the whole mortgage market arena, and then housing just across the board, not just affordable housing for low-income people, but for everybody. I'm afraid to think that we've actually found that here with insurance. Just in our market alone, 1/3 or more of our clients had to change insurance carriers over the last 3 years. They've changed insurance carriers for 2 reasons. One, that the cost has gotten so high they can't afford it. And number 2, because the insurance provider has left the market. And so when these insurance providers leave the market or they price themselves out of the market, then it pushes home buyers as well as owners of rental units into, I almost want to call it the payday lending market of insurance providers. Most states have an admitted carrier, one who's following all that's in Texas that is approved by the Texas Department of Insurance. And then they have these unadmitted carriers, and they don't have as much regulation as the admitted carriers do. Right now, our home buyers that in our portfolio of servicing units that we service, 20% of them, and it's climbing every month, are using an unadmitted carrier. Now, I'll get to why that's not good. And then on the rental side, it's even a bigger problem. I'm not going to say 100%, but I'm going to say very close to it. I would say most rental housing units in this country are probably being insured by an unadmitted carrier in their state. And we're trying right now to collect as much data as we can on that. I would encourage you ask the questions like, what can people do? I think that those who are studying this can figure this out. And so that if it's 60%, it's still a big problem. If it's 50%, it's still a massive problem. But everybody I've talked to, and I work in this industry, that's where they're at. Now, an unadmitted carrier, for example, in the state of Texas, don't have to meet capitalization requirements. And so that's a problem. And then even if they did meet even if they were checked by TDI in Texas, and I'm only talking from Texas point of view, but let's check the rest of the other 49 states. They're not checking unadmitted carriers' capitalization stance and where they are. Even if they did, those rules under the capitalization rules of insurance companies in Texas have not been updated for 25 years. So if I have a fire in one of my apartment buildings, I'm not too worried I'm sure this company has the capital to pay me out. If I'm hit by a class 5 hurricane and every unit that I have gets demolished, I can guarantee you this insurance company is not going to have the capital to pay me out. And investors in affordable housing, so those buying tax credits and lending money, we're giving them a piece of paper that says we're insured. And they're like, okay, check, good. Scares me to death.
Yeah, that is really interesting because an admitted carriers, they don't have access to state guarantees.
And if there are any, we believe the government needs to step in here because we've done it for farmers. Even the reinsurance system for farmers is backed by the federal government. We did it for terrorism insurance. Federal government actually backs terrorism. Every year I get this form that says the CDCB want to buy terrorism insurance. A number of people living in affordable housing, just affordable housing rental units in this country is massive. In some way, shape, or form are subsidized by the federal government, and they're not properly insured. Why? The government needs to step in and create some sort of a backstop on this. We're not making this up. And so I would love to say to you, Stuart, I've got this great plan to fix this. I'm like, this is a problem and I'm not sure how to do it because it could be bad, especially in this time of climate change. And we're having these things happen. And a fire isn't destroying just one building. It's destroying in complete towns in California.
Absolutely.
And in Hawaii, like completely. So it's not just a hurricane in Florida or Texas or Louisiana. It's massive. And I'm thinking we're putting our head in the sand and saying, if we don't look at it, it ain't there.
Part of creating what's new is we need to be clear-sighted about what the problems are that we have. And by the way, if you wake up tomorrow and you have the come dream, come build version of how we solve insurance, please
I'll call you.
know there
On my call list.
Fantastic. Those are sobering thoughts. Just how much we need affordable housing. We need people to invest in affordable housing. We need those homes to be covered by insurance.
There's a point where you and I can't afford it either. You're like, this guy's cheaper. But what do we know about this guy? One of the things we're struggling with in the housing industry nationwide is our members of the trades. The average age of a plumber in the Rio Grande Valley is 56 years of age. And the average age of an electrician is 55. These are licensed individuals that we're required to have to build houses. And there's no way for us to build the number of units that we need in this country to bring the cost of housing down without folks who want to be plumbers and want to be electricians. I think this is a man-made problem. I think that our overzealousness to send every single young person to college to make them to study STEM is not that I have a daughter who's pre-med, right? I'm happy with that. And I want young people to do what they want to do. And I believe in choice, but they're not really informed about some of the other choices. And we've been running a youth build program here in Brownsville for 30 years now. And that's where we take high school dropouts between the ages of 16 and 24. And we help them get their GED and then also train them to be with an NCCR certificate, which is the entry-level construction skills testing and welding. We have an entry-level welding program. And then we also have an entry-level CNC machine. We're actually moving that program of 30 years into actually be a diploma high school, like certified accredited high school. Every year we have graduation for students. We're graduating 35 students this year. Some of them have been touched by the justice system. A lot of them are homeless and they're couch surfing. But on top of just that impact to those young people, I feel like we need to have shop class again in high school. We need to have home ec class. You can still do math, you can still do science, but you're actually able to put that to work as a plumber or electrician or air conditioning and cooling and heat pumps and all this stuff. Things are getting better. They're getting more sophisticated. We need smart young people learning how to do this and really be committed to it. On our website, you can go info@cdcb.org, and we'd love to talk to folks about it, how to get involved. We're part of a bigger kind of national thing called the Partners for Rural Transformation because we're working in small metro and rural areas. We're not New York. We're not San Francisco. Do you want to invest in lives and change lives in places like this? And we're all working around the sustainable concepts, even though those are words we're not supposed to be talking about these days. It's built into our system. Money is very much like water flows to the place of less resistance. putting money into rural, persistent poverty locations is very difficult. The Partners for Rural Transformation, operating in the Delta, Appalachia, farm worker communities, and Native American reservations in the rural South. Last study we looked at philanthropy is at about $950 per head in New York City. But philanthropy on Indian reservations is about $2. In the Rio Grande Valley, it's about $21, $25. In the Mississippi Delta, it's about $30 or less. You can look at prt.org. And if that's a region that you're interested in, one of those that I named off, those organizations are doing phenomenal work. We're one of 6 groups that started it to highlight this work that's happening in places that most people don't think about.
All this work that you're talking about, it takes capital to make this work possible. Yeah. And when there are organizations that are well run, that are thoughtful and intentional about how they're doing it, it can be an incredibly efficient and effective place to deploy capital to have real impact on people's lives. And creating more resilience is better for the people who are living in those homes, and the bills go down and they're safer and they have a home that's more secure.
Exactly.
Nick, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. This has been incredible.
Stuart, thank you for the invitation. It's been fun.
Nick has homes that people are renting from him, affordable homes often, and is helping people buy homes. As a result of that, Nick is at the interface where a lot of people need to address insurance and having a home. If you have a mortgage, you need to have homeowners insurance. If you're providing affordable housing, you need to have insurance on the building. You can get insurance from a mainstream insurance provider. Most of the insurance providers that people are aware of, Allstate, for example, right? If you get insurance from what is called an admitted carrier, there are a lot of regulations for those insurance companies that they have to meet. One of the benefits is that consumers are more likely to want to buy from them because even if that insurance company goes bankrupt, the claims are going to be backed up by the state governments. And so it's a little bit like having FDIC insurance on your bank account. The rates for insurance are getting so high that fewer providers of affordable housing can afford to buy their insurance from admitted carriers. As a result of that, they're going to folks who are not admitted, what are surplus lines. When they go to surplus lines, so they're taking out insurance from the surplus line providers, their costs are much lower, but also these companies are not nearly as well financed. And so as Nick points out, look, if there's a tree branch that falls and breaks a window and I need to make a $10,000 claim, his insurance company's going to be there. That's not going to bankrupt them. But if there's a storm and they lose most of the building and they lose the buildings in the rest of the neighborhood, he has zero confidence that the insurance companies will actually be able to pay that claim. Combine that with the fact that he thinks almost every provider of affordable housing is purchasing their insurance from surplus line providers. He's pointing out that if we get severe climate events, all of this infrastructure in our country has no insurance that's going to back it up. And he thinks this is a calamitous risk that we're not appreciating as a society. Like Nick he's with one organization, but his one organization is serially innovating all different aspects. At the center of their work, they focus on housing as an organizing principle, get people into safe, affordable housing, ideally into homeownership that enables them to build wealth over time. So I think one of the things that we see in Nick's work is that he gives the organization license to identify each barrier that the people he's working with face, and then attack those barriers in ways that become enduring kind of innovations. That goes from everything like the education pieces, creating financing vehicles, like how do we actually get you access to the money that you need to make this purchase? Dramatic contrast between, for example, business entrepreneurs, wisdom about how you're an innovator in business, where you're supposed to do a thing, you're supposed to do that thing really well, get really good at your area and what's not your area. Many social innovators do not work like that because they are working in environments in which there's a whole broad range of needs. And in order for them to succeed in solving the problems that they're trying to solve, they have got to address this whole kind of pipeline of needs for the people that they're working with. Innovative, entrepreneurial, really important and noteworthy for us to look at. I'm Stuart Yasgur, and this is Economic Architecture, the podcast.